right, good. Welcome to another edition of the show. Mac, looks like we're gonna have a short and quick, sweet show. A lot to go over. Got a good jump right into these Week 9 matchups, as there was a lot of very important games that went on.
Yeah. First game up is me and you.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like it was ugly. It was
Yeah, I got you
like
back
much
after you beat me the first time.
much like the Green Bay Packers. My team is a complete dumpster fire right now. Uh, can't even score over 75, so there's that.
Yeah, I was kind of when I saw Tannehill wasn't going to play. I wasn't looking at that too closely. Um, I will say Justin Fields seems like he's the real deal. Maybe for sure as a fantasy quarterback. I think as a real NFL quarterback, we'll see how it goes. Got to give all props to him. As the rest of my team honestly didn't do a whole lot. Had another kind of stinker of a game for his standard. Let's hope he's not actually hurt. But yeah, Fields was just too much, and then your team did struggle a little bit. I think Aaron Rodgers is just unfortunately not a fantasy top 5 quarterback like he's been in the past.
No, it was not good at all, and yeah, I had no one else show up. Hopefully, I can only hope and pray that Aaron Jones goes down for a little bit for my fantasy team. That is, but because AJ Dillon would be getting that main carry, but besides that, I got nothing to look forward to right now. I do.
Yeah, that was sorry, go ahead.
I do have Justin this upcoming week, so I do have something.
It's a huge matchup.
Yeah. Now next game, Logan versus Justin. Logan putting up some big numbers again.
Yeah, Seth. I mean, Logan's team very very good. It's been consistent the whole year. Tyreek Hill doing what he does, Derrick Henry doing what he does, and then again we keep kind of waiting for the shoe to drop when it comes to Geno Smith, and obviously I talked about it last week, but I don't think he's the 7th ranked currently, or I don't think he'll finish as the 7th ranked quarterback. But then again, if Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady continue to struggle, maybe he will. But yeah, win for Logan. His team continues to stay hot. I will say he's got some interesting decisions to make at running back. He's got Stevenson, he's kind of kept on his bench for the last few weeks. We'll see what he decides to do with him, Fournette, and then he's got obviously Foreman, who I don't know, long-term solution. So he does have a running back, and that will be interesting to see how he's on the opposite side. Justin, I don't really think there's much to say about his team because he just hunker down and probably get shot around. Hasn't really fight all year. He continues to put Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford out there. He continue to show that they're not very good. And yeah, I mean he's probably I should say Kyle continues to lose, who is our guest tonight. We'll bring on to talk about the shot around, but Justin is definitely not out of it yet. He needs to find a way to improve it. I don't know if he'll do that via trade or whatnot. He's struggling big time. And Logan, on the other hand, is 7-2, leading the division or up there in the division. So
No, it's Logan looking pretty good. I think he's still a contender no matter what. But yeah, Justin, just it's the KC duo this week, and it just doesn't work out. It's plus Romeo Dobbs, going down. I don't know how that's all going to work out, but I'm sorry, yeah, him going down. I don't know. It's going to be weird. Next up, we got Walt versus Josiah. Josiah coming out with a big win, moving to 7-2. Staying tied with Logan in that East.
I wouldn't call it a Monday night miracle per se, but it was definitely a Monday night storyline as Walt kind of had the upper. And I think if you looked at projection, but also just the fact that he had Lamar Jackson going, unfortunately for him, Jackson did not have a very strong game as far as fantasy points. Kenyon Drake had like a career game, and then Justin Tucker, did what Justin Tucker does, and Josiah was able to pull out the win, stay tied with him into the top of his division. I know we've talked about it on past Mac, but Josiah has rode those two quarterbacks, but I really think he's going to have an out wide receiver standpoint. I won't put words in his mouth. I won't say this is 100% sure, but I think he's just throwing darts at a dartboard because the basement about 5 minutes took off, and I just talked about Chase Claypool and how I thought he might have a big day. And then he just like, oh yeah, and then he just kind of put him in his lineup and took Renfro out. Obviously didn't work out, but he's definitely struggling. I mean, he doesn't have a strong receiving core, and he's piecing it together with the running back position. However, he also has the the best quarterback duo in our league, and that's obviously going to give him a baseline of points that will come. On the opposite end, you got Walt, who I think a lot of us thought had a really strong. He's kind of suffered some setbacks. He's obviously low 500. Lucky for him, the East, which we'll talk about, has shown to be a very weak division, 2 teams. So long as Walt can, just figure out a few things. He also, let's keep in mind, he had a few where he had a lot of buys on the same week. Now he did trade some of those players. I think he's got another big bye week coming up. After that, after we get past week 10, he'll have 3 straight weeks with her, and I'm sure he'll be up on the weak East division. But yeah, big win for Josiah, and honestly, I know we joke about Eddie's team a lot, and we'll talk about it here in a second. Just for Walt, him and Eddie now share that final playoff spot.
Very, it's Shadow Realm contention really opened up pretty wide here, especially after this game. I thought Bach was going to be able to pull it out, but unfortunately couldn't, especially against Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. But and that Kenyon Drake performance. But next we have Teddy and Bill. Big onslaught by Bill. I almost had ETN on Friday night hanging out with Josiah and Bill. I almost had the trade was out. I had him out. Unfortunately, Bill just never looked at that. Must have stayed up too late at the house hanging out. But yeah, unfortunately, I thought I was gonna be able to get him, but I wasn't able to. Bill's team looks good.
Yeah, I mean, 2 and really good. So really a guy that and I think he's done it against maybe some weaker defenses like the Lions, I think was last week, if I'm not mistaken, and obviously the Bears this week. So it'll be interesting to see if he can continue to do it against some of the better defenses he'll face, I'm sure, as we get close to the playoff time, but he's definitely looked good. Bill started a receiver in the OP position and ended up working out for him. So Bill moves to 6-3 and stays tied atop of the West. Again, Teddy, nice guy, but we saw this coming. We've talked about his low point. I think his team is good. Murray has not been, as good as we thought. I mean, he's still a top 10 quarterback points for, but I just don't think he's had those monster weeks when Teddy's needed it, especially on a week like this where McCaffrey's on a bye. He's got Ayuk on a bye. Keenan Allen just can't get healthy. Deontay Johnson on a bye. So, got to figure out the running back position. He's got Singletary, who is not necessarily back, and Montgomery has definitely suffered with Fields running as much as he has, and Herbert taking a large chunk of that offense or of that running game as well. So, yeah, I mean, this is a huge West matchup. Bill, like I said, continues to be in a playoff spot, and Teddy, as 5-4, 5-4 is actually a playoff spot. Just talks to how deep our division is. But yeah, big win for his team. Looks very strong.
And I am surprised about Kyler Murray. I thought this would have been a big week for him with DeAndre Hopkins, coming back, having all that, but it was just unfortunate. That was not a good game. Saw them arguing on the sidelines and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah, the quarterback
I'd
position this
expect
year is bad. I don't know if you've looked at that. I don't know if you've seen that maybe some of
it's
your other teams or other leagues, but man, it's like outside of Josh Allen, who could be hurt, obviously Holmes, then the rest is you got guys like Kyler and who have both been who are both Jalen's the 5th ranked quarterback, is the 6th, but like they're just kind of averaging, and I'm not saying this, but they're averaging like 20 or so points a game, maybe 25 if they're lucky. And that's tough when you're playing other teams like Tua, who's averaging, just having bigger weeks, I should say, with like points. It's tough to overcome that. So,
well, and ETN too. He's just been constant the entire ever since he took over. He has just been nothing but 20-point games from him. So that's
yeah,
huge.
Bill's team has got stronger, and the funny Bill could have had, I know something scary is Bill could have had Justin Fields for basically a throwaway receiver. And you mentioned Bill not put trade. Well, maybe that was a smart move, but man, he made a really kind of a dumb move. And let's not forget the fact that he traded for Taylor, who by all means is still a very talented back, but that's someone that he traded whenever. And unfortunately, I think both him and Mitchell both lost that trade. Taylor could definitely come back and be strong, but he's not obviously not a very reliable back with how injured he is and how bad the Colts offense is. So something to look forward to, or look at, I should say, the playoffs, is if Bill does get a healthy Taylor back featured in the offense, and then you add in the fact that he's got ETN as we inch closer to playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think that Godwin is going to be very good, especially how Tom Brady's been playing. So that's where I was trying to really hit home on with him. I can't remember what else I gave him, but the team looks strong. And if Jonathan Taylor could come back and DeAndre Swift go back to what he was doing at the beginning of the season, he'd be unstoppable.
Right.
Next up, we have Kyle and Mitchell. Kyle, another tough one, buddy.
This was one I was doing pretty hardcore for Kyle because playoff ranking, him being at he's in the West. So I kind of watched this matchup pretty closely. Kyle made a pretty big trade this week, trading Barkley to me. I gave him Miles Sanders and Dameon Pierce, and we'll have him on in a second. But I actually was shocked he noted the trade and then reached back out and said, "Yeah, actually, I will do that trade." His team much better because he has 2 stud running backs. Obviously, he made because I couldn't start both those guys. I only had one spot, Kamara being my other back. So he made a big move and out. Unfortunately, his quarterbacks struggled. That's been a position that's been bad for him, and he had Dak on a bye. On the flip side, I have no idea how Mitchell keeps finding ways to win. He keeps playing lineups that make no sense. Every week, he just has a big game from Walker and Adams, and then he gets back. But again, we've kind of touched on the fact that a team like Teddy had its flaws, and we weren't shocked that he started to lose. I just think Mitchell's going to hit a wall here. I just think his luck's got to run out. No,
he has to at some point, unless he just gets into the playoffs and then he loses his first game, because he's going to actually be playing some competition. A lot of these guys that he's playing right now I think he played me on a bye week. He's coming up lucky on a lot of these big games that he's winning here because people are on buys. Once he gets these full strength teams, I think it's going to be bad news. And I mean,
right.
I don't know. I just don't see it working out. I mean, Devontae Adams finally having some decent fucking numbers, but besides that, Mac Jones and Zay Jones hit your OP spot. Like, come on.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, he was out on bye, but still.
And I mean, the other look at his bench, like Mark Andrews will get healthy. That'll help him. Cooper's in a bye, help him. He has Russell Wilson. That'll help him. So overall team is not bad. It's just he's mismanaged his roster every single week. And then every week you're like, well, you forgot to play a quarterback or he's done. And then like he gets these weeks from guys out of nowhere. and finds a way to win. And then on the flip side, I know we're going to have him on in a minute, but man, Kyle just finds bad luck after bad luck. You know, he goes into that Monday night game kind of again in I would say the advantage back, and all Mitchell had was a backup tight end who falls into the end zone, you know, scores a touchdown. And then the Ravens defense, who, you know, obviously is a strong defense, but they got 11 points. I mean, that's, you know, that's asking a lot of your defense to overcome. Sure enough, that happened. So yeah, unfortunately, Kyle, which we'll talk to him in a minute, he is, you know, sitting alone. That Shadow Realm spot is inching closer to playoff spot. So big win for
Yeah. Next up, the game of the week: Carter versus Eddie, who now Sloppy Joe Mixon.
Yep.
I mean, PJ Walker getting -4 points. You got Dawson
He is
Knox
so
getting
bad.
2
I
points.
cannot believe he scored 100 points. But then again, he has Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon saving the day coming out. Jamal Williams had a decent game too. But besides that, man, Justin Herbert only 13. You know, it's Joe Mixon coming through in the clutch. But here we have you know, Carter again, 0-0-1. Like, it's just not getting the job done. You know, the quarterbacks are putting up the 20 points. That's what he's getting, but it's ugly.
Yeah. Carter has kind of shown, I think, his lack of depth, which we talked about a ton, was very obvious, and that happened, you know, which I know he'll blame why his team isn't very strong, and I get that, but his lack of depth came in and kind of showed once, you know, we've kind of beat his team to death, so I don't want to spend. I feel bad.
Yeah.
6 straight losses. On the flip side, somehow finds his way in tied playoff spot. You know, I think as a player self who's currently in the playoffs, I would love nothing more than Eddie to slip in somehow. I hope that happens because, I mean, if you see 2 points from Joe Mixon this week, the rest of your team doesn't really do much. You know, he doesn't really have a strong second. And the other thing is, you want to talk about mismanaging a roster. Why are you playing PJ Walker when you have Davis Mills and option? I know Mills didn't light the world on fire, but if you've watched even a second of football, you know that PJ Walker is not an NFL quarterback. Journeyman backup. He plays full offense that shipped off their best player. Davis Mills is a young quarterback getting to play in prime time. You figured he'd have a decent game. And again, 15 points is not lighting the world on fire. I just don't understand why he went ahead and started that team, or excuse me, that quarterback. But hey, I mean, at the end of the day, he found a way to win, and he's in a playoff spot. So
He's going through that remodel right now, man. He doesn't get to watch much football right now.
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But
ugly. Yeah, big win for Eddie. Keep it, you know, in all reality, I think at worst he moves now, which is my perfect transition. Eddie moves away from the Shadow Realm and moves into it, which for him is really, you know, quite the achievement.
Thing I would like to say is, Bach, how are you tied with Eddie right now? That's just terrible. Yeah, it just shows, you know, you win a game in the East and you're going to the playoffs basically here. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean the whole East versus West is obviously, it's pretty obvious, has been settled. The West is the deeper division. I mean, we have no teams that are, so congrats to Josiah and Logan, but division, including Kyle. And I know I keep saying that every week, but it's the truth. Kyle over 1,000 points scored. I mean, that's for a team that's 1-8 that every single week, and he's given himself a chance to win. He just hasn't had the ball bounce his way. Flip side, the West East has teams like Walt, 3-game losing streak. Carter, obviously, 3-game losing streak.
6
you know,
game.
you have a team who just does not try. I mean, he just doesn't put in the effort to make trades and get himself out of shallow round. On the flip side, I know the person I will say that I think struggling up and be competitive is Mitchell. Yet he's 6-3. So I mean, you know how exactly he's doing that. I don't know, but you know, I'm just interested to see how the rest of this obviously week shake out, because in the East, you know, you have a pretty clear that Josiah and Logan are headed to the playoffs. So congrats to them. I really think Walt will win that final spot if he could figure something out. Isn't completely out of it. And then Eddie, you know, if he gets lucky again, plays teams that he'll get in. But the West, on the other hand, it's a dogfight right now. 6-3, you know, 3 teams at 60 at 5-4. You know, it's kind of anybody's. What's that?
So it could change at any second. I mean, for the better though. I mean, we're
Right.
gonna have, say, if all you guys lose, the top 3 lose this week, and Teddy wins. That's right now. We have 4 teams that are going to be 6-4.
Right. And I think mathematically, Kyle's eliminated from the playoffs. I don't for sure. If he won his next 5 games and other teams lost their next 5, obviously it would shake out where he'd have the same record at 6-8. But I think, given his fact that his playoff percentage is 0, I think there's some tie must not be able to overcome. So really, I think at this point, you look at the standings, it's a dogfight for some playoff spots, some seeding, and then obviously we're getting to that point in the year where Shadow Realm is a realistic option for us, and that'll be very important, obviously, as we move forward to see who can over and avoid that.
All right. So with that, I think it's your lock of the week here.
So yeah, lock last week over in the Bears-Dolphins, I believe, hit it at halftime or just about at halftime. So that was an easy winner. Moved me back to 500 on the year. Board this week was really tough. Find one that I fell in love. I believe I got the Rams either -3 or 3.5. I know it says
it was
3.5 there.
Yeah, it was 3. This one just says 3.5. Trying to find the consistent one is difficult.
Yeah, the line must have moved, which means I was on the sharp side of that line anyways, since the line's already moved in my you know, even a bigger spread. But yeah, at home, must-win situation. The Cardinals are an absolute fire. Probably going to fire their coach. Their quarterback would rather than actually play football. So I'm hoping the Rams come out and play best football. So we'll see.
Yeah, I like it. I like that going forward. But now we have our guest on, Mr. Kyle Ringler.
How's it going, guys?
What's up, Kyle?
How's it going, Kyle? What are you drinking on? Some whiskey there?
That's some bourbon. Colton poured me a glass.
I got some Sprite Zero Winter Spice Cranberry.
Nice. Maleka, you drinking anything?
Some water in it. So, Kyle, we obviously haven't had you on this year, and unfortunately, you're not on for a good reason. You're on because you're in a difficult spot, you know, at 1-8. It's been a year. So just kind of talk us through kind of how the year's gone and kind of what's led you to be at a position that you're currently in.
Yeah, this is definitely a unique situation for me. Haven't really ever been eliminated from the playoffs. I know you were saying earlier that I'm statistically eliminated, and this is the earliest it's ever happened to me. Usually I'm still looking for that last piece to add to my team to get that playoff push and try to get my team ready for that. Now I'm basically just trying to survive and not get into the shadow realm. I mean, week 1 right off the bat, had Dak Prescott go down. They were thinking 6 to 8 weeks, and then end up being that full 8 weeks that he was out. So just basically, and then the second week too, Trey Lance goes down. So, I lose both my starting quarterbacks. I had drafted a third quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. I took him with my last pick actually in the draft. But after Dak went down, since he wasn't going to be gone for the season, I had to drop Jimmy and pick up, what was his name? Cooper Rush. And so I had to hold on to that. And then just injury after injury, I could never really bounce back from that when you lose two quarterbacks like that. And basically my best wide receiver, Deebo Samuel, had to trade him away to try to balance my team back out. So I lost any bit of depth that I had on my team. I had a running back, Brian Robinson. He got shot, so he had to miss the first 4 games. So I didn't really have him in my lineup to be able to use it all. And then as soon as things start coming back around, I made a trade with Walt early on to get myself Jared Goff, just so I had an actual other QB in there. Ended up losing Marquise Brown pretty much soon as I was going to get Dak back. So it's been a big battle of injuries. Every single time something seems like it's going to be going right, and then another thing happens. So I'm basically, instead of trying to make that playoff push, I am now going to be, battling to try not to get shadowed.
I feel you, brother. So I do have a question. So what came over you to make that Saquon trade? I mean, at the end of the day, it did work out for you, and it was a good trade for you this week. But
I guess it started when Matt texted me, and it had to have been 11 o'clock in the morning or something like that. I'm at work, so I'm not really, sitting down and actually crunching the numbers and thinking about it. It's just, when Saquon is as good as he is, it's kind of hard to want to give him up to somebody. At the end of the day, though, like I said earlier, my depth was not there at the running back position, and I was going to have him on a bye, and that would have really, really hurt my team, especially when I was playing Mitchell, and I thought I had a really good shot to beat him, which, shows that I was, I came close and had that good opportunity. So I was trying to take advantage of it, and 2 stud running backs instead of starting just one, because my other running backs have not been showing out. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's not really doing anything anymore. There's no carries in that offense. Everyone gets about 8 carries in that team, and then I was hoping he was going to get a bunch of passing opportunities like he had been earlier in the season. Those weren't panning out. Brian Robinson is not panning out to be as strong of a running back as what people thought he may have been. So it just made sense to be able to get those 2 running backs, especially when there's no more buys after that for them either. So, I get those 2 free and clear the rest of the year, bearing any injuries.
You were the one I did the trade with, and I honestly thought, when I was sitting back, I made that deal. It was very hard for me to even just send it over, because I do think that you got the better end of the deal from a depth perspective. Afraid to give up Dameon Pierce, who's a young running back and looks good, and then Miles Sanders, team record-wise in the NFL. But the fact that I have Barkley, who is, like you mentioned, upside, he can go out there and kind of do that plus point game, which at the running back position, if you get that on a somewhat basis, obviously the upside's huge. I did look at the fact that Barkley's on a bye, and that did consider why I thought that it might be more of an appealing offer to you. So yeah, definitely a win-win situation. Obviously we'll see how things play out, but yeah, you've been trying, and I think one thing is, Nate, on this podcast, you're going to hear about it a lot. Me and Mac will definitely call out teams that aren't doing well. However, we've actually, and people have given us shit for this, we've given your team a lot of props, because we just feel like you do have a good team, and that's been injuries. And, I was looking at some of your scores, and it's like you've put up over 100 points multiple times and lost. You've had some tough breaks. So yeah, it's definitely a situation now where you're where you're fighting to not get shot around. I guess one question I have is, have you talked to Deeds at all about this? Does he know, or have you started consoling in him and maybe seeking some counsel from the little bro who's had to deal with this?
I mean, he knows that I'm not in a good situation, that's for sure. I tell him that I'm close to it, but at the end of the day, I think out of the Shadow Realm teams, I'm the strongest of those teams. So yeah, the Shadow Realm was in my mind, and I definitely don't want to go to the Shadow Realm, but I'm pretty much looking forward to that consolation bracket and working towards getting the first overall, or I guess my choice, that pick in the draft for next year. So kind of trying to keep Shadow Realm in the back of my mind as much as I can while I focus on the positives of it.
Definitely. That's smart. One other thing I definitely wanted to bring up was the fact that I think us three are three guys who have been, especially over the last, much this year, but definitely over the last few years, on the committee, which I don't even know if exists anymore, but those members of the committee, hard on the commissioner at times. But I also think we're also people who can admit when things have changed for the better. So I've actually noticed this year that the committee has basically not talked about themselves at all. I don't think they meet. I don't know if the organization and our commissioner, although he struggled to set his lineup, he seems like he's pretty much staying clear of any drama. So I don't know if that's what you guys have seen. One perfect example is this past week, I saw that text go across my phone about the whole what's the Shadow Realm rules. And I thought, here we go again, World War III, going to be yelling and screaming. And everyone just basically said, yeah, I think the rules are. Mitchell came in a few hours later and said, yep, the rules are that. So you guys kind of noticed that the committee's kind of disbanded. And what do you know? The committee disbands, doesn't have a voice anymore on the league. No more arguing. How that?
I did.
That is a very unique thing.
Go for it, Kyle.
Go ahead, Mac. Okay. Basically, what I was going to say is that I think their egos, they're not letting them get the best of them anymore. And I think that they themselves have calmed down a little bit and kind of just more or less not trying to argue with everybody about every single thing that we try to bring up or anything. And they're more clear about what's going on. Last year, I noticed there would be times where one committee member would say this and another committee member would say something completely different. And, where do you go from there when you don't even have your own committee, agreeing with each other on what the rules are? So I think it's more cut this year. I do like it a lot, though. There's much arguing, even though some people love it because something to do during the day and read and all that. But at the end of the day, though, I think it's their egos not getting to the best of them, and we're all able to basically be one big happy league for once.
Yeah, I basically the same thing. It's completely different. It's I did talk with Josiah a little bit Friday night about it, and the fact that now it's just coming to a point where we are kind of all just voting on it. Really, at the end of the day, we are all talking it out, even though we don't make a full vote. But at the end of the day, I think we haven't done a crooked committee segment this whole season. We're already in week 10. It's incredible.
Hey, knock on wood, guys. Knock on wood.
Our first 10 episodes had basically had a crooked committee every single episode, but now we haven't had one this year, and no, it's nice. It's been great.
So, Kyle, another question I had, and Mac, obviously, if you have anything to jump in, but I had another question. You're kind of at a spot where, again, the Shadow Realm is definitely, if that does end up happening, do you have any plans, for that? You feel that you'll be more of a Logan who kind of would pop in and ask questions and try to stay a part of it? Or would you be more like a Deeds who, I would say, just kind of from the outside, chirps once or twice, but isn't necessarily there on a daily basis in the group chat? Where do you feel like you'll fall?
I still would like to be involved because I feel like, even like how Mitchell says, you're still a part of the league, and, I get to come back in after, being relegated for 1 year. So it is. It comes down to that. I like just having an outside perspective on the GGL could be beneficial to a lot of people, because when you're a part of it, you see things from when you're not a part of it. So I think that outside eye could do a lot of positive things if it comes down to that.
I like it.
Mac, you got anything for Kyle?
No, I think we move into this week.
Kyle, do you have anything to add?
Oh, yeah. Do you have anything? Sorry, buddy.
Nope, that would be good for me. Nope, I'm good. Appreciate you guys having me.
Do you have anything that you want to plug while you're here? Got a book or anything coming out?
Nope.
All right. So for the first games up in our rivalry week, Carter versus Bill. I think old Carter's going to be moving to 3-7.
Yeah, Carter's definitely going to lose this week. Bill's team's hot, Carter, which is good for you, Kyle. Another team that's really going to be in shut-around contention. Yeah, I see that one being a blowout pretty quickly.
Yeah, we got to remember Carter. He started out the season 3-0, and he's on a 6-game losing streak now.
Right.
The points are not there. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time Carter scored over 100.
Right.
I can.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that makes me excited.
Yeah, I can definitely. I have a whole breakdown of how many times Carter scored under 100 points. Next up, we got Walt versus Moose. Moose, you're taking this one for sure. Barring a Josh Allen day-to-day here. What's going on?
Practice today, it seems like they're kind of being almost like coy about some things, which is kind of scary. You'd wish the coach would just come out and say he's fine. We're just going to limit his reps. He's a little sore, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a scary injury. If you saw the highlight, it could be his basic for a pitcher, Tommy John surgery, which isn't great. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully he can play, even if his arm's not feeling great, if he's on the field, obviously his legs are enough to be very fantasy relevant. On the other hand, like I mentioned, he had a pretty big bye week, went and made some trades. So he actually has a few of his players on bye. So yeah, it should be it's a very important matchup, obviously, for myself, but for Walt, I think the whole thing is going to be cheering pretty hard for me, because it's a crossover game, and Walt is obviously in a position where he is a few losses in the playoffs, so should be an important one.
Yeah. Next up, we have Mitchell versus Eddie. I love how close this score is on this one, but we'll see if, dumb luck hits on both of them here. Either Joe Mixon goes out for another 50, or Mitchell has some stroke of luck.
Mixon actually has his bye this week, Mac.
Oh, then never mind.
Yeah.
Not over that, so never mind.
Mixon has his bye this week.
So I guess I'm going to go with Mitchell here.
It'll be whoever can manage the roster the least shittiest, because for whatever reason, I'm sure Eddie will justify starting PJ Walker. He'll probably bench Herbert and start Walker and Mills for some reason. And then because there's a London game or Germany game, whatever, I'm sure Mitchell will forget up and start like a defense on a bye. And they'll just kind of go back and forth. Or what I could see is, I'm not sure if either one of these has a player that's going to play on Monday night, but I could see one of them like having a 1-point lead, and then for whatever reason not benching their player. Their player goes out there and like fumbles twice and gets a -4, and they lose that way. That's how this game, I think, will plan out.
Mitchell does have a Monday night player, Terry McLaurin for Washington against Philly on Monday night.
First play of the game, he'll drop that. He'll fumble, and then Mitchell will lose by 1 because of it.
It seems like the only rival between these two guys right now is either of them setting their lineup.
Yeah.
Not even facing each other. It's just been a battle.
Right. It's looking in the mirror every day and saying, how can I not fuck up my fantasy team today?
Next up, we got Teddy versus Josiah. I know it says Teddy is projected to win, but I know Josiah does have some buys this week. Who's out for him? Do you know?
Yeah, he's got Garrett Wilson out this week, and then he's also got Justin Tucker for Baltimore out this week.
So he's got some
Damn,
buys
Tucker's
there.
his third best.
So, and he's also got a bunch of other buys. I mean, he's only got
Joey
two
Burrow.
people, and they're both backs. So looking like Josiah's going to take some zeros in the wide receiver and kicker position, unless he manages to make some waiver wire moves and fill those gaps.
Well, obviously, you never try to lose, but in Josiah's case, he's got this spot wrapped up. So maybe he just will decide to not drop a few players because it doesn't necessarily mean anything more than seeding interesting. But yeah, I think Teddy's three best, Murray and McCaffrey. That's a pretty good duo or trio, I should say. So Teddy's going to find his way back in the winner's circle, but Josiah found a way to win despite having interesting roster construction. So we'll see.
Yeah, who did the Chiefs have this week?
The Chiefs.
I think I could
say because
completely.
No, they got Jacksonville.
Oh, that's right.
Mahomes could go and put up some big numbers against somebody
sure.
and save that one there. But next we have Kyle versus Logan. It's going to be a little tough for you, buddy. Hopefully Geno Smith doesn't have a good game, or Trevor Lawrence. Well, they're going to be playing the Chiefs, so who knows? But I'm rooting for you, but I'm taking Logan in this one.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough week, especially after losing that tough game last week, and then going against a good team like Logan's that he's got going on right now. The only thing that I do like is Dak Prescott's numbers are very low since he's only been back a couple weeks. He did give me 29 right before he had his bye week, so hopefully he can keep strong numbers going like he had that right there, and that'll help my team out a lot.
It would be pretty cool for our division if our last place player beat their first place player. So that would be a cool storyline since the East has
really nice.
Talked a lot of shit.
It's going to be a hell of a story.
Hell of a story. All right. And then for our game of the week, hated to do this to myself, but me versus Justin. I mean, it has to be done. We both are on I don't think we've both scored over 100 points in the last 2 weeks. Knocking me off would push me a little bit further down that little hole there, but if I hit Justin again with a 2 and 8, it could be a tying up with Kyle, and I think I can get him.
I'm definitely going to be rooting for you in that game.
This is a big matchup, Bob. I think the first to break 100 is going to win.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm hoping, the Packers season is already a dumpster fire, so I'm not too worried about that. So I hope old Aaron Jones goes down. That would give me A.J. Dillon being the back, so that way he'd have to scram for somebody. And I hope Ryan Tannehill decides to play this week. He's been out the last 2 weeks, so I'm hoping he'll decide to do something. But I also did change out the Falcons defense for the Packers defense, so hoping we're going to have some big numbers there going against Carolina. But
I think I'm going to take Mac in this one.
I am going to take Mac as well. All right.
He got Sutton and Judy on the same team, and then last week it was Juju and Valdez-Scantling. I mean, you start 2 wide receivers from the same team in this league. It's not going to fly.
I agree. But so going with that, So last week we had Eddie versus Carter. We both got that correct. You moved to 6-1. I moved to 4-3. And then we have Logan getting the victory too. So Kyle, you'll be up there next week. And so there are some prizes now brought to you by the Happy Bakers. So Victory will get some stickers that they can no water bottles included. But you can get some stickers up there that say fantasy football general manager, the Shiva. So there's all that. So if you win out, we get it. So
Hell yeah.
there's that.
Nice. Love it.
Love that.
So just a little something, so that way we can have a prize here. So starting next week, after this week, I will do a text, and then because basically almost everyone's been on so far, to start doing bets on the game of the week.
Like it. Hell yeah.
So anything else, boys? I am all out of ideas.
No, yeah. Pretty big 3 weeks coming as we get closer to playoffs and shadow round. So good luck to everybody except Walt. Dumbass. I guess we're rivals now, which I don't really understand why, but fuck you, Walt, and have a good week, guys.
Kyle, thanks for being on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.